Hello, hello. Welcome to Voices of the Millennials. I am your host. My name is Elle de Lyon. Some people call me Elle the Lion, and I'm okay with it. I make pretty dope art, and I do that right here on the radio station that you're listening to right now. And that's Love Bay Afro Beat Music Talk Radio. Okay, and we're coming to you live from Toronto, but we are streaming to many different countries around the world. In fact, we're streaming to 135 different countries. And every day that is adding up and growing bigger and better. I'm really, really proud of everything that we've been able to achieve here at Love Bay. And I'm excited for the future. Today, I'm taking a little reprieve from having a guest on, going back to, a format that you might be used to, and that's your girl speaking on some topics, speaking on breakdowns and breakthroughs, and how to really break ground in your life on your dreams, how to manifest the things that you really want to achieve. And so I've thought about how can we make this happen? What are the steps? What are the tools? What are the techniques that you need to be able to manifest, to bring things from your mind into existence? That's what I believe the definition of manifest is. If you're out there listening, I'd love to hear what is your definition of manifesting, and how do you do it? Because there are many different ways on how you can manifest things. And today, I thought that I would bring you, I was thinking about this list. I was thinking about the number because there's so many, a number of ways that you can really manifest the things you want to achieve in your life. And so I've settled on my favorite number, and that is the number 8. So we're going to try to get up to the number 8 in how many ways you can manifest what you want to achieve in your life. And so of course, we should start out with some inspiration. So, something that I've recently started to embark on, a dream of mine that I had, and how I made it, come to be, is I really, really enjoy, as you know, some of you who have been listening for a long time, I really enjoy and I participate in the entertainment industry. And it's really important for me that entertainment is also educational. And so I have the pleasure of working for an organization where I get to do that. And when I joined that organization, one of the things that I really, really wanted to do when I got there was to really build out the media and film division. In helping this organization to elevate its brand, like bring in more media individuals, people who can really help to tell the story in a visual format. Because if it's not documented, one thing that I've recognized, especially in this internet age society, especially amongst the millennial generation, if it's not documented visually, especially, then it's like it didn't happen. And especially platforms like Instagram, Facebook, what else? All of the different ones. Now there's Threads, and TikTok. All of these platforms, they do use the written word, but they really do pair it together a lot with visual aids. And so I've recognized that that means that that's where we're headed in our society. And so for me, when I recognize these trends, I really try to get on top of them. And that's one of the ways that I would say that I manifest things in my life. I really research the trends that are happening, and I recognize what is my place, or where can I lend my skills to be able to participate in that industry. And so media and film was the one that I recognize. Yes, that is a place that I need to see myself in more. And I also recognize that media and film really dictates and directs where our generation goes. It's really the media that generates these trends, because whoever controls the media, whoever has the resources to be able to tell the stories through these high quality visual formats, they are the ones that ultimately will be able to dictate the times. All of the things that we think we like, all of the things that we believe we are moving towards will be actually as a result of the things that we ingest, the things that we are influenced by. And I mean, come on. If you're, I mean, depending on who you are, I mean, right now you're listening and watching me live. If some of you on YouTube, some of you on Facebook, hello to LinkedIn. These are platforms where people are tapping in and going to find out how to direct their lives. How do I live? Let me listen to a podcast. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've gone to YouTube University, and now YouTube, we found out last week from our last guest, is actually a place that you can go to for therapy. And I would say, and therapy, I'm using that loosely. Let me put the disclaimer up right now before anybody comes for me, that therapy in the sense that you can go there for therapeutic tools. So there are lots of people who are on YouTube, who are on these digital platforms and sharing their skills and their knowledge about what has and also what has not worked for them. And so that is also even what I'm doing here right now. Today, I'm sharing with you, anyone who just tuned in, I am sharing with you on Voices of the Millennials about what are my 8 ways in life for manifesting your dreams, essentially, the things that you have in your head, the ideas, the concepts. How do we bring them into reality? And so, my number one that I started out with, and this was, I'm using my example of I wanted to participate more in the entertainment industry. I wanted it to be educational and be able to really help to change people's lives with the messages that I'm able to convey through media and film. And so I thought about this a lot. I even went to school for it briefly. A long time ago, I had decided that I really wanted to do this. And it was after I had finished my first degree. So I made my parents happy. And I'm thinking, this is the time. I need to get into this industry. I really want to be a host, is really what I was thinking, have my own show. But now years later, I recognize that what I always really was passionate about is having a platform, being able to tell the story from my own mind, from my own mouth, from my own hand. I want people to see things through my eyes. And I believe that I have a voice of the millennials. No. I do literally and figuratively have this voice, and I really wanted to use it to make a difference. So I really wanted to be able to tell stories that can change the narratives that exist, especially within the African and Caribbean communities. There are so many stereotypes that have been passed down and continue to span across generations. And I want the stories that I tell to be able to break these curses, for people to examine themselves and see themselves and their world differently. And in order for that to happen, I recognized that I needed to actually, after all these years, I actually need to start my own media company, my own production company. And then not only do that, but team up with other individuals who are doing the same thing, create these super conglomerates that we right now know as like Viacom. And, that's one of the bigger umbrellas that actually owns a lot of different media outlets. And so if these individuals, the way that they came to be, I studied that. And that helped me to know that these individuals didn't start out as Viacom. And I'm using them as an example. That being said, these organizations started out as individuals. Then these individuals with these ideas to be able to tell stories through their own mouths, through their own eyes, etc., they decided to get together. When they found like-minded people, they decided to get together and then build these conglomerates over time. Remember, like as African and Caribbean people, especially living in North America, we are probably still, hundreds of years behind our Caucasian counterparts and the colonizers, the ones who essentially created the world and made these systems, which we are now figuring out how to truly participate in. We were told things about how to participate, for sure, given the right to participate doesn't mean that you know how to participate. Like, really take that in. What I'm trying to say there is that there's many individuals who, it's like they let them in the house, but they didn't tell them how to act when they got there. And then when they didn't act right when they got there, they got mad at them and kicked them out the house. Ain't that some? You know, that is essentially the plight of I would say, the North American, African slash Caribbean living out here. It can be like that sometimes. These things, they build up and then we count ourselves out and then we don't end up being in those industries. So this was kind of my story too, that, I was trekking along this journey and trying to do the research, but every time I would get to a certain place with this industry, especially when it wasn't with people that look like me or had the same mindset, because skin folk does not mean that you are kinfolk. So just because we have the same color skin or a variation shade that is close, it doesn't mean that we have the same mind, doesn't mean we have the same lived experiences that will dictate ultimately how we behave. And so for those reasons, I just found myself in a lot of places where I wasn't able to fully participate in this media and film industry and the entertainment industry until I stumbled across the organization that I work for now. And it's really alignment, I think, as well as preparation for the opportunity, because I had prepared I told you, I went back to school for media and film. That was actually the name of my program. And when I went back there, I found that, as I said, there was just a lot of people that didn't look like me or think like me. And I was wondering, how would I get my stories across? It felt as though I was going back into another opportunity where I wouldn't be heard, seen, or valued. And at that time in my life, as I said, I already did my first degree. I had had enough of that. I did that in a town where there were even less people that look like me. And so I was really looking for the opportunity to exercise a lot of the things I had learned in university, such as, equity and equality, and how not being able to do that in society was quite frustrating. But I entered social work, and that really helped me to, I think, get to where I am now, which is through social work. I learned a lot of skills about community development. And I learned those skills with the understanding I did have a vision in my mind. And I wish next week or maybe another week, whenever I find it, I will show you. Just before, about 2 years before I went to school for media, I had started revisiting my dream of being able to use my voice to make a difference. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to become a host for a show. And I wanted to be able to get some sort of higher level of education that would qualify me, like a master's or a PhD. So those were the things. And I wanted to become I wanted to open my own business where I would be able to chat to people, talk to them. Essentially, I wanted to be a therapist for real. I don't know why I was skirting around that for you. I guess I wonder if I still want to do that sometimes. And I wonder if I already do that. So I did enter that field. I did try that out. I put that hat on and I figured out that it was a lot to take in everybody's issues and then try to solve them. That's the mindset that I went in with. And I recognized quickly, one, that's not the mindset for a therapist. It's not your job to solve everybody's problems. It's actually, your job is to sit there and listen, provide resources so that other people can learn how to solve their own problems. Ultimately, if you're a good therapist, you want to never see that client again, or that patient, however it is that you want to call them. And so I recognize that really wasn't for me. I really wanted to do something where I could still make that difference in someone's life, but be a little bit more removed. And so finally, I figured out that it was storytelling for me. I really, really enjoy, as you can see, telling stories. And so I went back to school for media and film. After I started visioning, I started writing it down. So that's my tip number 2. All right. If you want to be able to manifest the things in your life, you got to do the research. about the thing that you want to do. So do as much research as you can, go on YouTube University, and just immerse yourself in the environment that you want to be in. And so research is where it starts. I'm going to actually put into number 2, then you want to immerse yourself in those opportunities that you've researched. And before all of that, you want to have that vision. So you want to have that vision. I really enjoy drawing. So I drew actually out myself as a talk show host, and I drew myself as the a best what was it? An award-winning bestseller author. And I drew these things in a cartoon format. There was 4 boxes, and I went to this class and they asked you to write these things and then draw a picture that could align with it. And so you wrote and you drew, and then I had this, and every so often I would come across it and it would remind me. So it's a tool, like your vision board or however you craft it, your vision. It could be a vision in your mind, but I just would really encourage you to have a visual reminder. Another visual reminder that you can have, and I actually have it right here beside me. Mirrors making me not realize where I am. But this here. So sometimes you may have seen this in some of my other podcasts. For the people that are watching, the people that are listening right now, what I'm holding up, it's a big golden stick. So I painted it gold actually, and it's like glittery as well. And I fashioned this to be, this is my walking stick. It's also my talking stick. So sometimes I'll go out and I'll walk with this when I'm hiking and things like that. And I have another one here that I've painted in a different color format. And why I'm showing you this is because I just mentioned having visual reminders and how important they are in being able to help you hold your vision. It's really easy to lose sight of your vision. And one of the ways that we do that is because we don't have it in mind. How can we think about something that we don't have in mind? So, how do we put things into our mind? Visual reminders do work. And I know they work because logos and branding is the thing that people really gravitate towards. It's what influences people to make certain decisions, such as getting McDonald's at 3 a.m. when you're driving home. When if the McDonald's sign wasn't there, or that sign on the highway that tells you where the nearest A&W is, etc., then you probably wouldn't go there. You might even just go home and eat your own food out of your own fridge, even at 3 a.m. But you think that you are making a choice when a choice is being made for you. And so that being said, becoming aware of those things helps you to keep in mind your goals, and then it helps you to make decisions that support your goals and really deviate from the ones that do not. And so I mention all of this because when we are visioning, like we have, and these are, I guess, they're in no particular order, because I believe that any of these 8 tools that I am speaking about today in manifesting your life, these are tools that may come about at different points in your life. I share my story so that you can see, real time how these things could manifest or work out in someone's life if they actually use them, right? And so I encourage you also to go back, listen to some of the other episodes that I've done, and even the other ones that my other co-hosts have done of this show, because you will find that there's a running trend and theme, especially when we talk to people about how they got from point A to point B, how they achieved what they have in their life. A lot of people will say that they had this vision in mind. They thought about these things before they actually happened. They saw themselves in these places. And so when they got into these places, it almost felt like they already rehearsed to be there. And so that's what I really love about visioning. And I would say that that's my tip number 4 in being able to manifest your dreams, is rehearsal. So once you have visioned it and you've identified how you're going to get there because you researched, the steps that are needed to be able to achieve this dream, and now you've immersed yourself in this environment that supports your goals, how do you stay in that environment that supports your goals? And that is where the practice and rehearsal comes in. So, practice and rehearsal, I might even put all of these. That's why I'm like, you know what? There's no order to these because they are all so important. And you may already be on a path where you have a talent that you already know how to do that talent. So, you don't need to necessarily research it. And maybe you even think about yourself in that space. So maybe you don't need to do all of the visioning and keeping in mind, but perhaps what you may need to do is, because you have all these things already, then what you need to do is put it into practice. You actually need to rehearse these things so that when you go to practice, when you go to perform, you are ready for that opportunity to show the audience, whoever's out there, that there's a reason why they came to pay to see you tonight, or why they are, getting your service, whatever it might be. Because now a lot of, I think, people may say that I'm not going to perform. I'm just going to my job, or I'm running my business. I'm not performing. I would challenge you to really look at the definition of performance and tell me that you're not performing. And so I thought that it would be a good idea. Let's look at the definition of performance together. We will look at this definition and decide. So now there's two definitions, all right? There's two definitions. One of them says, and this is the one I think that is more common, that people know a little bit more. And that is an act of staging or presenting a play, concert, or other form of entertainment. Okay. So, if you're running a business, your business is, maybe you are a contractor, like you build houses. Okay. Maybe you're a contractor, you build houses. How does it apply to be able to, um, an act of staging or presenting a play, concert, or other form of entertainment? I don't think most people would classify building a house or everything that goes into building a house to be entertaining. It's definitely necessary. I don't know if they'd say entertaining. And so the second definition, though, of performance is the action or process of carrying out or accomplishing an action, task, or function. And so everything then is a performance. If you are trying to accomplish an action, task, or function, then you are performing. And so to me, even me here sitting here talking to you, I definitely, have to vision for myself when I, get prepared for the show. Of course, if there's a guest on, I'm preparing all of the research, and I'm looking into their lives. I have a whole booking system and everything so that the conversation can go smoothly, and that you will be able, as an audience member, to be getting some good information from these guests and from me. And so that's how I prepare for the show. I also think of a vision in my mind, and I'm like, oh, I really want to talk about this topic. Or sometimes I even go out there and I approach certain guests and say, I'd really love for you to be on the show. And so that being said, how does this apply to if you were a contractor? If performance is the action or process of carrying out or accomplishing an action, task, or function, that means, as a contractor, someone who builds houses, you may have clients who come to you, oh, I want you to build me a house. Or there is a bigger, like, company who says, hey, we have this subdivision that we want to build. So now, depending on who you are in the process of getting the house built, there are different steps that these individuals have to go through. So there is, like, someone who is designing this, the architect who is deciding whether or not, this can go here, that can go there. There's development specialists who know exactly where things get laid down. The politicians get involved, all of that. And so now, where does the contractor fall into all of this? Do they have to have all of these plans? Do they need to rehearse all of these things? Maybe not. But where I think that the contractor will be performing is in actually building the house. How they can prepare for that opportunity is by going to school. You know, they do have to study. They have to study a lot of things like measurements, knowing how to keep things level, knowing what materials and tools need to be used to perform the job. Because even though they may get a set of instructions, there's always things that can happen on the job where you might have to change up things. And if that becomes the case, then we're looking at a lack of preparation that could lead to a world of disaster. And so being prepared for this, keeping up on all of those trends, that's going to be important for you in any job. And some people, they would disagree because maybe they don't really want to advance or accomplish anything, really, except for getting paid. And so if there's people, you know, who will allow them to kind of coast by in life to do that, then why wouldn't they continue to do that? That being said, I hope that you're not those kind of people out there. I hope that you're out there trying to accomplish a task, a function, or an action. And so therefore, performance is going to be huge in your life. Okay. And so that being said, um, we are now on tip number 5. So making sure that you rehearse for this opportunity that you've now researched, envisioned, etc. That is number 4. Moving on to number 5. So now you have the opportunity, and maybe you've practiced for it, you rehearse for it, and you even go and you perform it sometimes. So how now can we, because there's going to be some days where that thing that you have been dreaming of manifesting suddenly doesn't seem as shiny anymore. The novelty has worn off, and all the work that you have to do to maintain it, that practice and rehearsal, starts to become draining. Starts to feel maybe even overwhelming as you start to say yes to more opportunities. That means more rehearsal, that means more practice, even though it might mean more accolades and more money. As you know, Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G. I know my millennials out there will know exactly who I'm talking about. This is an artist that had a song that said, more money, more problems. So you get more money, but you get more problems. And if you are a superhero fan, Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility. And so getting all of these things, it could be a lot. It could be a lot. Like I was talking about, you know, using my new venture of a media and film company as an example. And, you know, running that means it's not only having the idea. Like I saw myself in the place and everything, and I started to see little things coming together around me that helped me to understand that I had an opportunity to be able. Sorry to bother you. Somebody's out there saying that you have to go to the car. Okay. So, we will be able to, so sorry about that. So we will be able to, just having a little tech difficulty. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. You know how it goes sometimes. That being said, we were talking about tip number 5, which is how do we really maintain that magic? How do we maintain our zest for that opportunity that we wanted for so long? Because it becomes overwhelming. It's not only running the company, or sorry, it's not only having the vision of the company in mind, but it's actually running the company, actually managing all the people that are involved to make that vision come true. And sometimes those aspects of our dream can start to, as I said, make the other parts of the dream seem really dull. And it starts to maybe even feel as though we are back at that, you know, that other place where we didn't want to be. And so how can we maintain that magic? And I think that that comes through something that I've heard called lucidity, and having a disciplined version of that. So being able to not only vision yourself in the place where you want to be. So, being the owner of a company, but also being able to vision all the steps that it takes to be that person. And when you do that research, writing it down. So that's my tip number 5, is that you discipline yourself and you write it down. And lucidity refers to being able to see things how they are and not only how you want them to be. Because that is the danger, I think, in visioning sometimes, that we hold so tight to our vision that we cling to the things that we fear the most. So we fear not being able to have that vision come true. We fear that vision falling. And so we cling to all the things around that vision that we are not able to understand. So we cling to those things that we are not able to understand. And then we make those things that we are not able to understand, we try to put faces on them. We try to visualize what they must be, that those things that will bring us down. And then we make up stories about that. And those stories become thoughts. And those thoughts become things they actually manifest in our lives. And so being able to be disciplined about the way that you see things is true, and the way that you interpret things is really important. A book that I really want to review in one of our future podcasts is The Four Agreements. And if there's people out there who have listened to The Four Agreements is all about 4 ways that you can really make an agreement with yourself about how to operate in life. And one of those agreements is not to take anything personal. And so I think that, in not taking things personal, and another one is being impeccable with your word, about having integrity. And these are some of the ways that we can help ourselves to be able to stay true to what it is that we are trying to achieve, stay true to our dream, remembering what it is that we said we were going to do, and then doing the things that it takes to get there, even when it's hard. So being impeccable with your word. And then I would say not taking things personally is really kind of like directed at the universe or the world, not taking the things that seem like a rejection as that. We talked about that in one of the earlier podcasts that I was doing, that rejections are simply redirections in disguise. If you choose to take on the perspective that this is not a rejection, this is actually the universe putting me in the place that I need to be able to accept this other opportunity that is better aligned for me. And having that perspective can help you to maintain the magic when the glitter and the dust the glitter wears off and the dust settles. You will be so happy that in your mind, you have understood that all the things that it took to get you there were really part of the process, and that the journey is the destination. So where you're trying to end up is you're only trying to get there, or it only matters because of how you got there. So all the things that it took to get you to where you want to be, that is really the destination, because there's always going to be a new plateau, a new place that you want to go. And how do you really maintain the magic? One, of course, as I said, writing it down, not taking things personally that redirect you from your path, and seeing everything as an opportunity. So your perspective really comes into play here. And I think that writing things down helps you to really keep a log of how things are going. So one of the things that I do to manifest, I did talk about this in these tips. Yes, visioning and, actually creating visuals of it. But I talked about writing things down. And I think it's really, really important to, yes, write down the things that you want, but also to write down the things that have happened. So this would be number 6, which is to have moments of reflection, build moments of reflection in. This can not only help you with achieving and manifesting what you want in your life, but also it helps you to be able to truly be able to reflect or to think about what has happened in order for you to get to where you are now. And that, I think, really helps me, and I hope it can help you to understand what then you need to do to get to the next step. So really reviewing, reflecting, looking back at what you've done to get to where you want to be so that you can plan for the next step. And for me, I really enjoy journaling. I try to journal 3 pages every day. It was a technique that I was given. So right when I wake up, I call it the morning pages. And this was from The Artist's Way. That's by Julia Cameron, I believe her name is. So another book that you should definitely check out. And it's not only for artists. I think it's just a way of life. I would encourage everybody to journal to themselves every day, if you can. And so journaling to yourself, and what you're journaling about is you are journaling about the things that are kind of running in your mind. Sometimes these things that are running in our mind, they have a way of seeping into the rest of our day. We try to keep it all in our mind. We promise ourselves that we're not going to think about it. But then here we are sitting in our board meeting, or we're out at the grocery store, we're driving, we're picking up the kids, whatever it is, and we're stuck thinking about what it's going to take to get to where I want to be, or how did I even get here, or so regretful about the past then, because as soon as you think about how did I even get here, you usually will go down a path of, everything it took to get there. And so what I really like about writing it down every morning is that you can just spew that out on the page. The pages do not have to make sense. They're not meant for you to read them back and really lament over them. It's just meant to serve as a log of the things that have happened and for you to think about it in that moment. So as you're writing it down, you're able to think about the things that have happened, writing to yourself, hey, this is what I want to do next about that. And then acting on it once the pages are done. Or even deciding when you might act on it, or talking to the pages every day and letting them know, still haven't done that thing. This is a way to be able to hold yourself accountable as well. Because at some point, you may want to go back and look at those things. And sometimes what I do, and this was not in The Artist Way, so this is me going off book, but I like to do this and I think it really helped me, which was I would randomly flip back to pages. I wouldn't have a rhyme or a reason for it. I would just randomly flip back to a page, and then I would read the entry from there, and just really reflecting on how far I've came. What are some of the things that I put in place to be able to advance myself past that point, and maybe what I still need to do that. And I'll do that though at another time. Like I might even encourage that, like before bed or something like that, not before I start writing, because I don't want, the past to influence the future kind of thing, or the present. So that being said, writing things down, writing to yourself every day if you can make it 3 pages. And one last tip that I'll leave you here with on that note is, there are some days where I don't know what to write. Like I just don't have anything in my head, or I'm just not ready to put it on paper. And so those days, they haven't happened super often, but they have happened. And I'm actually going to even remind myself to do this. So hold me accountable out there, voices of millennials. All you millennials out there, ask me how I'm doing with my morning pages, please. And I'll ask you as well. And so on the days when I don't know what to write, I literally write, I don't know what to write today. And I keep writing that until sometimes something will spark in me that helps me. And it's just like, I don't know. Then I write a poem or something, or I write an entry about when I didn't know how to do something. Like it might spark a memory about when I was younger, and maybe even how I got to this point of doubting myself. And another thing that I like to do is writing prompts. So writing prompts, I'll look them up online and I just write to whatever prompt I find, and I'll just let it be random. And I think this is a practice, as I said, that everyone should do. It's not only for writers or authors or people who want to be involved with writing. I think that anybody if you are able-bodied to write and you have pencil and paper, you should do this. If you have a computer, type to yourself. If you have a phone, do your voice memos. And this next one, number 7, we're almost there to number 8, y'all. We're counting up or down. We're going in some sort of order here, about, the ways that we can manifest our dreams. Like, what are some of the things we need to think about, need to do in order to do that? And now I have reached number 7. And so number 7 is talk to yourself. So now that you have done all of these things, and that's why, again, I say there's no order, because talking to yourself, I think, can be done all along the way of this journey. Talking to myself has been something that has really helped me. There has been times it hindered me, because sometimes yourself just tells you what you want to hear. It's hard to hold yourself accountable, in general, much less trying to just get advice from you, right? So I would definitely preface this with talk to yourself, but also with a grain of salt. Understand that you could be your worst enemy, but you could also be your best enemy. And I left this for number 7 or towards the end, because I really think that if you do these other tools, like you are you're writing things down, you are visioning, and within visioning, I would also throw in meditation, because for me, when I vision, I meditate on the vision. So I'll be deep breathing, really activating the energy within my core and in my heart chakra, in my mind, in my third eye. And I do all of that because I really believe that bringing together the mind and the body is important in being able to manifest. If the mind and the body and the soul are not in alignment, then I believe that the universe can sense that, and then it will not conspire for your dreams to come true, because it senses a discord. Or even that, even if the things are conspiring and coming together, you will not be able to see these things because your mind, body, and soul are not aligned. And so I would throw meditating into visioning. You definitely want to bring the breath connection with the body and activate. Do more research on that one too, because we're running out of time and I still want to get to number 8 here. Okay, so number 7. Number 7. I think I almost forgot what number 7 was. So let's run it down from the top. No, I'm just joking. But we are going to run it down from the top and get back to our number 7. So number 1, you know what it is. We want a vision. We want to put that thing into our minds. Then we want to meditate on that vision. We want to make sure that we are practicing and rehearsing that vision. We want to make sure that we're writing things down and reflecting on how far we came in order to get to where we are. We also want to make sure that we are talking to ourselves, and that's where we've ended up. So we want to talk to ourselves in a positive way. And I think that doing all of these things beforehand, writing these pages to ourselves, talking to ourselves in a positive way, and really being self-reflective and aware is going to help us to have really good conversations with ourselves. I would even encourage you to record these conversations with yourself, and listen to them back randomly. That's what I do as well. I randomly listen back. Sometimes I do note down what these conversations are about, but sometimes I don't have the time or I'm driving, etc. But if you're out there and you're listening, please do this right from the beginning so that you'll kind of know what these conversations are about and maybe why you want to revisit them. Okay, so that is number 7. And so these are the ways that you can manifest your dreams. You're listening right now live on Love Bay Afro Beat Music Talk Radio, and I am your host, Elle de Lyon, and you're listening to Voices of the Millennials. We come on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. and we talk about, well, I usually have an elevated conversation about something, and today we are talking about how you can manifest your dreams. What are the tools and the resources that you need to be able to do that? And now we've reached number 8, which I told you, I promised you 8 of them. And if you go back into the episode, if you're on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, you can rewind, and you will be able to hear these tips over and over again. And so, number 8, this to me is just encapsulates everything. It's really about making the time for these things to happen. So scheduling in the time to vision, to write things down. As I said, for the morning pages exercise, you tend to do that, well, in the morning as it suggests. But I will get up like a half an hour to an hour earlier than I normally would. And that's usually when it does happen. The days when I don't schedule that time in are the days when it doesn't happen. Like when I didn't think about it the night before and prepare myself for it for the morning, it doesn't happen. Like, so looking at your schedule nightly and in the morning after your morning pages is something that I would suggest. Having a schedule at all is something I would suggest, because the things that you repeatedly practice, the things that you repeatedly become habits, and then those habits really are add up to become your behaviors, and those behaviors are the things that brings you closer and further away from the opportunities that you are seeking right now. And so being reflective of, or actually putting in place and implementing a schedule to manage your time is extremely important. To be able to schedule all of these tips and tools in, you actually have to make the time for it. It's not enough to just sit down and think about it. The universe will conspire for the dreamer who believes. And I really think that belief is a little bit more than just thinking that you're good at something. I think when you believe that you are good at something or that you are meant for something, you're going to do everything it takes to get there. And that really shows your belief in yourself. And so that's my last thing for you, is that please go out there, and do these things, schedule that time and invest in yourself so that you can manifest your dreams, because it is possible. And I used myself as an example. As I said, I thought about these things like so many years ago, and I'm really manifesting them now because I believe in myself and I'm doing everything it takes. I'm talking to the people, I'm getting up early, I'm rehearsing, I'm practicing, and I'm bringing it all together. And because I'm doing all these things, I'm starting to see the opportunities more and more. They may have always been there, but I think my perspective is much different now because of the environment that I've created for myself in my mind, in my heart, my soul, and in my body. And I wish this for you. May you manifest, may you elevate as you become great. Next week, we'll be chatting to some folks who have done this for themselves. And if you want to be on the show, all you have to do is follow me on ELLEDELYON on Instagram. And there's a form link. You can sign up and we will chat. If you got tea, I got time. Peace, love, and blessings, y'all. I'll see you next time.